You today food and shelter, but what about tomorrow? Tomorrow are you going to lose food and shelter? What about the future? So the future are going to be damaged. So my first point is charity is temporary while systemic change is permanent. In Uganda we have a program, systemic program, which is Vision 2020 and Vision 2015, which is encouraging systemic change, which will help people to succeed. Without the what I highlighted on the table, that vision, in the past decade, Rwanda was not have that vision. After having that vision, Rwanda has increased about 80% in socio-economic status. The second is charity create dependence. If someone like NGO give you today a food and shelter, you are going to depend on them. So you are going to say that even tomorrow I will going to have that food. But if it come the systemic change, you are going to learn, how can I get the job? How can I have that? Also, this can create innovation, while charity can create dependence. Yes, Lord.
Thank you, the speaker. But I want to ask you something. If you're advising or advocating or even lying to this audience that you're going to put a systemic reform, who is going to have an advantage? Who is going to gain from that systemic reform while all people are dead? Who?
Thank you very much. In our house, we are just thinking about the next generation. Remember, also systemic change is where include also charity. In systemic change include charity. So why if you are just talking about charity alone, but in our house also systemic change include charity. In that case, also systemic change can go with charity. The second is about, the last minute is protected. It's about sustainability development require reforms, not charity. For example, in terms of sustainable development goals, where we have zero hunger, where we have no poverty, it require
Time.
Thanks, I rest my case.
Thank you. By the names of Germain Imweziman as the second speaker from Team Opposition. First of all, I would rather first refute what the proposition say. They said about, if I give you a loaf of bread today, and what are you going to eat tomorrow? So, dear judges, they say that poverty is caused by what? That lack of education, lack of jobs. Let's say that those schools are there. Are you going to study without eating? Impossible. And then the second is, they said about that if I give you a loaf of bread, as I was saying, but I would rather advise to you, dear speakers, that we are fighting to end poverty. Your systematic reform, you are drafting a picture of a beautiful systematic reform, but whether drafting these policies, they're ignoring those people who are starving. First of all, dear judges, first feed me and then I will go to work. Because charity saves lives immediately. According to the World Food Program, food aid reaches over 150 million people annually, and then that is not theory, it's survival. They continue about saying that we are going to implement something for 3 years, for outcoming future 3 years. So, first of all, you have to know that poverty is actually caused by systematic change because it's slow and politically unrealistic. So, judges, imagine, they are saying that they are going to end poverty in a corrupt government, in a war-zone government. So imagine, how are you going to build a school in Ukraine while in 1 second it's going to be down? Allowed?
Thank you, the current speaker. You are talking about that. How are you going to build those schools in Ukraine and then are going to be shut down? Here, what I want to tell you, that if there is well structured and those poverty will not be there. And if it is structured, those conflicts will not be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear speaker, but I want to address to you that, okay, if that's what you've chosen, first go in Ukraine, tell them to stop wars, and then you do the reforms. Another thing, if systemic reform is only solution, why do millions escape poverty every year without NGO and charitable interventions? Again, dear judges, they said they brought something that VUP. Yes, dear judges, but is VUP not giving what something that you are going to have in order to perform that job? We are ending poverty, dear judges, and how can we end poverty? Is it through charity or is it systemic reform? Ending poverty requires something with own strength. Dear judges, a government or a person who is not fit, you can't tell him to go and work. And then the second, I can't come to debate while I'm hungry. Where can I get that voice? When my own voice is the one going to raise the government, and the government is going to be developed. And if the government is developed, which means that also the poverty is going to be ended. Then, dear judges, while waiting for revolution, who feeds the poor? Your time is over in the last minute. And then, the conclusion, judges, this debate is not about idealism, it's about impact. Systemic reform is desirable, but charity is indispensable, and something indispensable can't be dismissed as secondary for practically, immediately, and for humanity. I rest my case.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, sir, in the chair, two competitive chambers, plus respected judges. I'm called Gisenyi, the second speaker from the side proposition, and we are definitely standing in the proposition of this motion 100%. But we believe that charity is a noble impulse. It is like a ventilation tube in a broken engine. It prevents it from exploding, but it does not prevent the underlying issue that makes the broken engine to not work. Actually, the charity is helping people during this day, provides with them the shelter this night. But what about tomorrow? What about the next generation? Here I've got the circle of poverty. Dear judges, look well at this. The child grows in poverty, lacks opportunities, and other things that are not even symptoms of like hunger, lack of shelter. Those are symptoms of poverty. But what are the causes of poverty? Lack of jobs, poor education, growing in poverty. Absolutely, we are promoting growing in poverty when we give children food to eat today instead of giving them opportunities to work for their food that they will eat tomorrow. And allow me to continue. I have got testimony. Allowed?
I like your argument, dear speaker, but I'm here to ask you something. If you are hungry today and you want to live or you want to end poverty, and someone is going to tell you to go and dig a garden of 5 miles, are you able to be without eating? Instead, can you tell me, can you first eat or you can first go and work?
That's a great question, but I have got a couple of examples. It's a VUP program. The poor population of Rwanda go there and work, and then after they get something. Absolutely, we are not fostering the poverty, but we are fostering I mean, it's not about fostering poverty, but they are loving work. And allow me to continue. We have Sweden. Sweden gave people opportunities to work, improve the schools, and definitely the economy of the country boosted by 20%. Isn't that a good thing? And in China, after revolution and industrial revolution, China were capable of lifting up 800 millions of people under the poverty, because that's not because they gave them poverty, but it's because they initiated industrialization that gave them opportunities to work. And definitely we are standing in the proposition of this motion saying that systematic processes should be put in place instead of giving charity that is going to save your life today, instead of saving the life of next generation. Because for instance, if we put on the schools, they are going to study, they get good jobs, and they will work to prevent the poverty. But if I give you one bread it's a loaf of bread, you eat today, right, and you are really satisfied. But what about tomorrow? Are you going to eat the loaf of bread that I gave you? Absolutely not, yes. But if I give you school, you study, and next day you will go to work and get money that will make you go out of poverty instead of staying in poverty. Taking for instance, some countries in Libya are always being given donations, right? But they are not succeeding. What if we build one market and one shop for them to work? Absolutely, they would have steps forward. And yeah, thank you, Alice, my case.
Good afternoon, dear judges, opposers, proposers, the House at large. First of all, dear judges, thank you for the time you have given me to introduce myself. My name is Gacuba Ttc, and I'm from the team opposition. Dear judges, allow me to first refute on what the proposer side have said. These people are talking about long-term economic empowerment. But dear judges, if a person is starving and you're saying that you're going to set long-term reforms requirements which are going to spend long years, and then dear judges, how are you going to save this person who is starving? A person who is starving, who is about to die, needs food right now. Needs food immediately. Dear judges, these people are talking about long-term reforms, but we are fighting against poverty, which needs the best immediate solution. Dear judges, these people are confusing this thing. Preventing poverty requires an immediate solution, not a long-term reform. Dear judges, allow me to continue with my points. Let me first express the key terms of this motion. Dear judges, let's first understand what is systematic change. If we mean systematic change, we are meaning long-term reforms in social and economic growth. We are also meaning what we call charity. These are voluntary assistance such as food, shelter, and medical care. This will mean that poverty is lacking of basic needs. That's what I have said before. These basic needs, if a person loses it, there is dips which may occur. There is also this person who is needing survival because he or she is in poverty. Our team believes that charity is the practical and immediate tool that is better than a systematic solution. Yes, allowed?
Thank you, the current speaker. I would like to inquire from you that you are talking about someone who is dying. We are taking an example of Rwanda after the 1994 genocide. What did the government of Rwanda do? Establish the long-term goals instead of establishing the short-term goals. Thank you.
Thank you, dear speaker, for bringing me in Rwanda. After bringing me in Rwanda, now I start trembling. Now, I'm going to talk about Rwanda, my origin country. This speaker is talking about Rwanda. After genocide, Rwanda could not save people in long-term reforms only. Instead, they first did what? They first give them food, because there were people who are losing their families. There were people who are losing their families. If you have lost your family, you have lost your neighbors, you are starving, and they are going to tell you, wait for 2 years, we'll give you food. Are you going to continue living? That is possible. And then I need to continue with our side. World Food Program provides emergency food assistance worldwide. This emergency food is saving people's lives. This is to mean that we should accept that charity is the first solution to preventing poverty. And then the research includes that millions of people saved from starvation during cities after this program of World Food Program. The other research is that there is support for refugees. Let's take an example from people who are in Congo. Congo, there is wars. There is M23 which is fighting with FARDC. And then are you going to tell these people from Congo who are starving because of wars, oh, wait for 2 years, 3 years, they'll give you food? Imagine. This person is needing food right now. This person is needing food not tomorrow, not next tomorrow, but right now. That's what you're supporting judges. And judges, remember that charity-based humanitarian assistance is essential to protect lives while long-term solutions are being developed. This is to mean that judges, systematic change are not the one which we should support. Instead, we should support charity solution which we are basing on. Judges, before I arrest my case, I would like to know, can people wait years for systematic change while suffering today? And then, who will feed and support the poor during emergency without charity? So the judges allow me to arrest my case, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Something that we need to do something. If I require pens, I need a pen. So do we need charity, or we need systematic change? That's what we want to bring on the table. We are strongly proposing this motion because poverty is caused by structural inequality, not just lack of resources. What you can say, having poverty, it is in the unstructured programs. When the country has programmed or has made a system of building this and this, the country will not get poverty, or there is no poverty in that. For example, we are talking about in Qatar as one of the richest countries in the world. They've made a system to say that all the resources in the world are owned by the government. That's the system they've built. It's the system they've built. They are saying that everything must do this, and it is productive. That's one of the most countries which is successful. That's what you're talking about. Now the next one is about systematic policy reforms increase long-term economic empowerment. So here, when we are dealing with donation, I can give you like 2 million. If there is no plan, what can you do? Dear audience, what can you do with 500,000 when you don't have a plan? Nothing you can do. You can just say that I'm going to do this and this because you've just got that money. But if it is a system you've built and it is built by the government, can say that we are going to give you like 2 million because of the plan is there, then you can plan and then get more profit than just giving you money without nothing to do. If I give you money, what can you do with it when it is not planned? That's what we are bringing on the table. Another thing, according to the UNPD, Bora's family lifted over 28 million in Brazil. But after giving them that money, people in Brazil which were helped by this family, they were living in a good condition for few years. It was it was indicated by the UN report, showed that after 3 years they went back on how they were. But thank you. I rest my case.